Centuries, Uyghurs have played an important role in trade and cultural exchange between the East and the West. They developed a unique culture and civilization of their own. They also contributed to Islamic scholarship, of which some is well known in Turkey and Central Asia. Sadly, much of the contribution that Uyghurs have made have been erased by Communist China. Since China's occupation through government incentives, large numbers of ethnic Chinese migrated to our vast oil and mineral-rich homeland, resulting in Uyghurs becoming a minority in their own and strangers in their own homeland. My story is unfortunately not unique amongst Uyghurs around the world. When the Communist Chinese government began rounding up more than a million Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and other Turkic ethnic groups into camps, my family and friends in East Turkistan started to delete me from their chat groups. As I was aware of the emergence of these camps, I did not question why they did this. Instead, we officially said our goodbyes, unofficially said our goodbyes. They nor I dared to speak of the camps, knowing that merely communicating with anyone overseas would land them in the camps or prison. It has been 4 years since I have had any communication with my relatives. Other than my two brothers, I have no other blood relatives in Australia. Not a day goes by that I don't think of my family and friends in East Turkistan. There are nights I wake in bed of the night, riddled with anxiety and worried sick about their well-being. The trauma and the grief that comes with not knowing their whereabouts and the state of their mental health is quite unbearable. I feel incredibly helpless about the plight of my people. This has tested my faith in ways that I had never thought it would. Hearing news reports after news reports of the rape, torture, and organ harvesting, and unspeakable cruelty that's happening to Uyghurs in the camps and prisons, and even those that are not locked up, is hard to bear. I wonder if my family and friends are amongst those that are being tortured. Allah knows best, and ultimately He will serve justice for my people. I don't know of a single Uyghur person in diaspora that does not have at least one relative or friend in camp or prison. Our communities have been shattered by the cruelty of Communist China. Our hearts are broken. Chinese Communist government have used Islam as a pretext to label Uyghurs as terrorists and extremists. They know that Uyghurs are ethnically and religiously completely different from the Chinese. They see this as a threat. Islam has been banned in East Turkestan. Chinese government has called it a disease. They're rewriting the Quran and replacing the belief in God with loyalty to the party and communism. They have introduced Chinese call to prayer in very few remaining state-run mosques. Historical mosques as old as 700 years old and other religious sites have been demolished. Others have been converted into bars, even to toilets. The dead have not even been saved from Communist China. Historical graves have been destroyed, replaced with car parks, toilets, and amusement parks. Janazas, our funerals, traditional funerals have been replaced with Chinese funeral practices, including cremation, something that we are not used to, or part of our values and tradition. Chinese party officials have been sent to monitor women whose husbands were sent to prison or concentration camps. These Chinese men, they stay in the same house and sleep in the same bed as the Uyghur women, the married Uyghur women. Their job to ensure they do not practice Islam or speak their own language. Uyghur children are taught to spy on their families using scare tactics. Young Uyghur women are forced to marry Han Chinese men, and all face concentration camp or imprisonment. Even themselves, not only themselves, but their entire family has to face a concentration camp. Uyghurs are being forced to abandon their heritage and their religion. A leaked document from the Communist Party states that the top Chinese official ordered the treatment of Uyghur Muslims should break their lineage, break their roots, break their connection, and break their origins. Inside the camps, people are forced to undergo political indoctrination, such as studying communist propaganda, forced to renounce their Islamic faith, their culture, and to worship instead and give thanks to China's President Xi Jinping. They are subject to torture in the name of combating religious extremism. The elderly or highly educated are not exempt from these so-called re-education camps. An 80-year-old Uyghur Islamic scholar was detained for the crime of having translated the Quran into Uyghur language in the 1980s. Yes, Uyghurs are being locked up for alleged crimes from decades ago. Tragically, he died in custody. My close family friend, Dr. Eldana Abbas, is also amongst those that have been locked up. She's a medical doctor, fluent in Chinese. What re-education does she need? Chinese government has facilitated the mass transfer of Uyghurs from their homelands to factories across mainland China. Uyghurs are inside and outside of the camps are being exploited for slave labor. They're forced to manufacture clothing and products for sale, both in China and abroad. Uyghurs are working in factories that are in supply chains of 83 well-known global brands such as Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Nike, Sony, Gap, and Volkswagen. Uyghur women's hair have not been safe from communist hands, with 10 tons of it being stopped by US customs recently. A recent report by German senior research fellow in Chinese studies, Dr. Andrew Zhang, states sterilization, forced abortion, and mandatory birth control among Uyghur women and other Turkic groups has resulted in the birth rate dropping above 80%. This means at least 2017 there have been almost no birth of Uyghur children. China has systematically broken Uyghur families. While the parents forced to go into the camps, children are being taken away to state-run orphanages or adopted by Chinese families by raising them as Chinese children. Does this mean the second Holocaust is happening right in front of our very eyes? The situation might be much worse than reported. A Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington recently described the systematic incarceration of vast swathes of Uyghur population as crimes against humanity. Now, what can you do and the Muslim Ummah together? We can make a difference. The more people that give their voice to the Uyghur plight, the more likely it will put an end to the genocide. Support the No Rights, No Game to boycott 2022 Beijing Olympic Games. See the Campaign for Uyghurs website for further details. Petition and lobby your government at different levels to put pressure on China to end the human rights abuses of the Uyghurs. Seek protection for Uyghur refugees and guarantees that they will never be sent back to China, as it means certain death. Hold protests in solidarity with Uyghurs. Ask your mosque members and mosque imams in the mosque to talk about Uyghurs and to pray for them. Support reputable Uyghur organizations around the world, such as World Uyghur Congress, UHRP, Campaign for Uyghur, Shukr Foundation, and Ottawa. Use social media platforms to raise awareness. Boycott made in China products. With the help of Muslim Ummah, the modern-day Pharaoh can be defeated when Allah is on us.